Hi everyone, welcome to episode 32 from my tiny tropical garden. It's that great time of year here in the UK at the moment where most of the hard work is done and it's all about sitting and enjoying the garden. So let me show you around. First up, we've had a big new addition to the garden and hopefully it will provide some shade during these scorching summer days. We've treated ourselves to this Albizia julibrittin umbrella tree with these fantastic fern-like leaves that are open during the daytime and close at night. As its name suggests, this umbrella tree grows with a broad canopy, so should cover our tiny patio well to give us a bit of relief from that midday sun. The plants we chose for the raised bed this year are growing really well. And with everything just on the edge of bursting into bloom, it's already got that lush foliage effect that I was going for. Especially with that ginormous Paulownia tree at the back of the border. And look at the size of these colocasia leaves already, from those tiny plants that I propagated from last year's plant. I'm really happy with this. And beside that, I've planted the Persicaria Purple Fantasy, which looks great next to the coleus with the red leaves. Just above that is the red buds of my Alchemilla Indian Summer, and the three combine really well. It's the first year I'm growing Hedychium or gingers in my garden, and I even like the foliage, but these won't flower till late summer. This one is Hedychium gardnerium, and this is the Hedychium Dr. Moy that I showed you a couple of weeks back, both growing well. And the Amaranthus caudatus, Love Lies Bleeding, that we grew from seed is growing well, but absolutely covered in aphids, so I really need to get round to making that aphid spray. Another plant we grew from seed are these Nicotiana sylvestris, the tobacco plants. I sowed them very late, so they'll be late to flower, but I'm happy to see they're starting to grow. And the buds are forming on my Dahlia Bishop of Llanlaugh. These have bright red flowers, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that colour added to the display in the garden. And just at the base of the dahlia are my Euchemis bicolour bulbs, and you can just see signs that the flowers are going to start to emerge. I'm looking forward to seeing these at the front of the border because I think they look really tropical. And behind those is my tiny golden fuchsia. In time it will be big enough to stand above the rest of the plants. And the blooms are forming on the Isoplexis canariensis, or Canary Island foxglove. This is an evergreen shrub and I think I'm going to move it later in the year, so keep an eye out, but I really like these orange flower spikes. And a second plant of my seed-grown amaranthus looks great next to the pink flowers of the Penstemon dark towers, with its dark foliage and dusky pink flowers. And popping up throughout the whole of the border are the wafty purple flowers of Verbena bonariensis, which have been great for attracting insects to our tiny tropical garden. And at the very back of the bed is the big leafy plants, like this Musa basjou banana and the Paulownia tomentosa tree, which I coppiced earlier in the year, and it's put on so much growth. The new darker shrubs are growing well at the back of the border, but not really to full effect yet, perhaps next year when they've got more size, but they help the green colours pop out against the darker backdrop. The plant with round leaves is Continus cogigrea, and it's planted next to my Fargesia rufa bamboo. And the large purple leaves of Canna Dark Night pair really well with the Enseti murellii planted next. You really can't beat Enseti leaves for that tropical look in your garden. They have grown enormous this year. And at the very top of the stream, where the plants bake in the sun, my succulent bed is growing well. Or at least it's trying to, until the blackbird comes and rearranges everything. Still, it's nice to see nature enjoying the garden as much as us. And in the small pool of water that these succulents are planted around are my Sarracenia pitcher plants. I don't think anything says tropical like a carnivorous plant. These have put on so much growth in spring, and I'm so glad it got through winter outside. And the central bed is filling out nicely, with the Huchera, Hebe, Ericium, Hedychium, planted in front of my Eurphorbia and roost tree. I love the Hedychium or ginger that we're growing in this central bed. It's Hedychium greenii and it has a really deep bronze colour to the underside of the leaves. This is one of my favourite plants this year. And I've planted it in front of my Eurphorbia japonica or loquat tree with huge corrugated evergreen leaves, and I'm really looking forward to this establishing and fully growing into a tree. Because this and the roost tree will give the central part of the garden a good amount of height as well as providing some shade. The colours in the garden at the moment come from the nicotiana flowers, our purple salvia amistad, and then our climbing aloha rose. And the rose is now on its second flush of flowering, so it's adding that punch of oranges and yellows and real sunset colours to the garden again. The jungly evergreen palmate leaves of the Schefflera taiwanniana look great, and it's really filling out this corner of the decking. And our teeny tiny stump of a tree fern is putting out some impressive fronds and starting to fill out its space in the shady bottom area of the stream. And growing up through its new fronds is this Fatsia Variegata with the lovely striped leaves, and this will gain a lot of height for the very back of the border. And the Pseudopanax latius with its evergreen glossy leaves is settling in well. With a couple of edibles growing as undergrowth in the tiny tropical garden, we've got variegated oregano and this chamomile, which is currently in full flower and spilling across the path and smells lovely when you tread on it. And the narrow bed that flanks the other side of the footpath is really starting to fill out. And I've added a new plant to this bed. It's called Begonia Angel Blush, and I'm trialling to see how hardy it's going to be left out in the garden over winter in the UK. But just look at the shape and colour of these leaves, they're almost metallic. And it's added to my growing begonia collection, with the Begonia luxurians recovering well after being scorched by sunlight earlier in the year. I will protect the luxurians over winter. Beside that is the begonia I planted out a couple of weeks back, I'm not sure which one it is. And I've recently planted a begonia grandis called Heron's Pirouette, and this has pink flowers. My Fargesia is putting on so much growth, and each new leaf is just as beautiful as the first, and it really looks great planted in front of this variegated grass. And a friend, Mike from Mike's Rare Plants on Instagram, kindly gifted me this Canna Cleopatra. It has these amazing purple streaks through the leaves and a multicoloured flower. Be sure to go and check him out on Instagram, he grows so many weird and wonderful plants. And he's doing a garden open day in August, so be sure to go there and help him raise some money for a good cause. I moved our Colocasia Thai Giant into a spot where it gets more sunlight, and it's now happier and putting out more leaves, each bigger than the last. And talking of big leaves, check out our Tetrapanax papyrifer rex. This was grown from a plug plant last year, and it looks great next to the Fatsia and underneath the banana leaves. I always wanted this corner of the garden to feel really jungly, and hopefully I'll be able to tuck underneath the leaves and get some shade once it fully establishes. So with plants like my cannas, my gingers, and even the new albizia tree budding up and getting ready to flower, the garden is on the verge of being awash with bright tropical colour. Be sure to hit subscribe if you want to stay updated. And in time, I'm going to be adding more and more plant profiles, especially about the plants featured in my garden, to my new website, tinytropicalgarden.co.uk, so be sure to check that out. And as always, comment below if you've got any tips or questions. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.